Oh, we have a guest. So before we get into that, let us bring up our guest. Are you ready? Okay, he says he's ready. And so, friends, hold on. Let me get this right. We it's not all the time that we get a guest. So, friends, please put your hands together for Michi.
Hey, Jenny.
How are you tonight, Michi?
Good. Um, it's Me-Meechie.
Me-Meechie. Right. Yes.
Yep.
So, how are you? What would you like to contribute to the stream tonight?
I've been good. Well, I would like to contribute to. Well, first, yesterday, I met these guys. There was Christians. And, they gave me this book. Like, I don't know, like what it is. And,
Yes.
maybe like you can tell me.
The Book of Mormon. You're not familiar with it?
Nah. I just been locked on my book I written in the Bible.
Okay.
Um, it's like a remix version of the Bible. But I had like a lot of questions. Like I kind of want to get curious about it, but it's just I just be fascinated, you know.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Well, just starting off, the people who came to your door, they were Mormons, and so that's why they gave you the Book of Mormon. And so Mormons, they call themselves Christians, but they are not Christians, because they believe in a works-based salvation, and they don't even believe that they believe that Jesus is a God, but they believe in multiple gods. So they're actually polytheistic, surprisingly enough. Most people don't know that.
Oh,
Yes. But even just aside from that, the number one reason why Mormons are not Christians and why they're not saved is because they believe in a works-based salvation, like every other false religion. And so what you have there, the Book of Mormon, is like, now I don't I sometimes I get them mixed up, but they have two like holy books. They have the Book of Mormon, and then they have the Pearl of Great Price. And one of them is like their specific version of the Bible. I forget which one is which. Like one of them is supposed to be like a remix, like a translation of the Bible, and then another
oh,
one is supposed to be like an addition to the Bible. I think that the Book of Mormon is like their translation of the Bible, and then the Pearl of Great Price is like the addition, but I could have that backwards. But basically, that book is supposed to just teach you the foundational Mormon doctrine, and it's very interesting that these Mormon missionaries that came to your door. Do you remember what color they were?
well, like then it comes to my door. It was just I just met them on coincidence stuff. But they both was white men.
Okay. Okay. And that is not a coincidence. Okay. Pretty much 90% of Mormons are white because they believe. Now, I'm sure they didn't tell you this, and I don't even know if the Book of Mormon says it explicitly or if you have to get way deep into their teaching, but they did not even accept black people into the official Mormon church until like the 70s. Because they believed in their doctrine, in their original doctrine. So the Mormonism, so the Church of Latter-day Saints, whichever you call it, it was founded by a man named Joseph Smith. And he believed that dark skin was a punishment from God for being sinful. And the better you were, the more good deeds you did, the lighter your skin would get. And so that, was prominent teaching for Mormonism for most of the time that it's existed. And only very recently have they even allowed Black people or brown people to be a part of it. And so there's that. That's another thing about Mormonism, for you. So yeah, I'm sure they were very nice, but you don't want to have any part of what they're doing because it's all wickedness and it's ungodly.
Okay, so you want me to like throw the book in the trash?
Trash, shred it, burn it. I know it's getting pretty cold outside, so if you want to have a bonfire, then that is perfect to get it going. So, however you want to discard of it is by me.
Thanks for the heads up, Jenny. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, because like tonight the topic is the occult and like dark magic and things like that. And so, it's important that, we don't even allow these things to get a foothold in us. And so let's say, you're bored one night and you just have that lying around, you might open it up and start reading it, and and some of it might make sense to you, and then you might call up, because you can organize through their website, to have a Mormon missionary come to your house, and and then before you know it, you're totally ensconced in a false religion. And so yeah, don't even let the devil get a foothold. Don't go to some Asian country and bring back a little Buddha because it was on, it's a trinket or it's a souvenir. Just completely reject all of that false religion stuff, so that way nothing can even get a foothold on you.
Thank you.
Of course. You're another very loyal supporter, so of course I'm going to give you the best advice as well. But yeah, you don't want to have anything to do with that junk.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Did you have any more questions?
Uh, uh, well, yeah. Well, have you got my book, The Bible, yet?
No, I haven't gotten it yet, but I do remember you messaging me about it, and so I haven't forgotten it. But it was funny. It's funny that you mentioned that because I was just saying earlier in the stream that niggas don't read, and so it's not just you. It's just the fact that reading things other than the Bible are not on my priority list. So I don't want you to think that I'm singling you out. Because I have another viewer and he writes books, and I haven't gotten any of his books either. But that's nothing. That's not a personal strike against you or anything like that.
But at least the Bible, it's a little remix of the Bible.
Okay. Well, yeah. I definitely, I need to. I mean, like I said, I have it kind of locked away in my mind. But yeah, I do need to eventually get on that and check that out, because we gotta support each other here in our content creation. So I do plan on checking that out. But if you want, you can stay and you can comment on this video that we're about to review,
Okay.
because we're about to start talking about how witchcraft and the occult, rears its head in places that are supposed to be churches, or supposed to be, with people who are supposed to be Christians. Uh, Jason, he it's not the Bible, it's Nigible. So it's
The Bible.
Nigibible, right?
Yeah, Nigible.
Oh, IBLE. Yeah, Nigible. So if you have a link to it, you can drop it in the chat so people can look into that. It says thanks.
And
Yeah.
I'm
So
so proud. And I'm so proud of the book because I invented the word. So like you can just type it up on Google and you're gonna see nothing but the Bible.
yeah, you've kind of blazed your own trail in that respect.
Thanks.
So yeah, we are about to pull up this video. We have this one, before my internet decides to, jump off a cliff again. So this this clip is Pastor Kenneth Copeland, who did this very strange symbolic blood ritual at a conference back in 2020, where he symbolically cut his hand and did like a blood offering with another guy that was on the stage. And so this is paganism. This is not from the spirit of God or the spirit of truth. This is dark magic-esque. And so we're not going to watch this whole thing, but just a few moments of it.
On this a couple of days ago, but if you don't follow Spencer, you may not have seen this yet. At the 2020 Southwest Believers Convention, Kenneth Copeland gives a demonstration in understanding covenant. They start off by mixing salt in a bag to demonstrate that when you mix two people's salt, it's impossible to know which is which or to separate them. And then it gets just creepy.
Now, So this is your cup.
Yes, sir.
This is my cup. So put it in there. Okay.
That's the cutting of the covenant.
Now, is it just me, or is that not a bit freaky? Even includes the drama of the moaning effects.
And then I would do the same.
Jesus said, take this cup. This is my blood of the new covenant.
Yes, Jesus did say that, but he didn't cut his hand and drip blood into the wine.
Now we've mixed our blood.
Which is his and which is mine. Now our blood has symbolically has been mixed here. Now at the communion table,
Yes, sir.
he said, this is my blood of the new covenant. All of you drink all of it. Judas had to drink that.
Yes, sir.
So, now, and I want you to be this way every time you take communion, and you ought to take it a lot. A lot.
Yes, sir.
Now his blood is in my body.
Yes, sir.
It's in there. His blood is mixed with my blood. Can you see it? Western people don't know anything about covenant. Eastern people do.
So this is just a really strange way to explain this. It resembles something more New Age than biblical. Jesus' blood covenant was...
I mean, are you listening to this? You can hear the oohs and the ahs from the people in the audience just eating it up with fork and spoon. Like, oh wow,
Wow.
that is really something. Like, this is ridiculous. Had you ever seen this clip?
No.
Oh my goodness. Jason says that he had seen a clip of this before, but yeah, I mean, just craziness and just, I mean, it's the people, it's the other two guys on the stage that are not only like kind of partaking, but just like, oh yeah, yes sir, and and just kind of going completely along, like acting like this is normal. And it's like one thing that you'll find with, I don't know how much how acquainted you are with going to church and stuff like that, but a lot of pastors, they're very much on the hunt for something new. And I think I mentioned this last week, but if something is new, especially in regards to Christianity, then it's not true. And so many pastors, they want to have some new fancy special doctrine that no one's ever taught before, so that way they can kind of monopolize on it and coin it. And it's like, oh, I've never heard that before. Did you hear Pastor so-and-so? He taught on John chapter 6, but he said something I had never heard before. And it's like, well, then it's probably false, because there's no new thing under the sun. Okay. And so this is just crazy. And like the channel says, I don't know what channel this is, but like the host of the channel says, this resembles more of New Age. It resembles more of Catholicism, taking a more literal understanding of this passage and of communion than it's meant to be. And it's just so crazy how little discernment so many Christians have. Jason, he says, the followers will eat up everything thrown at them from their favorite television pastor. He knows that and is playing them with utter disrespect. Yeah. I mean, they're like, you can just hear them. You can hear them from the crowd as they're just like, wow, in slack-jawed amazement at this analogy that this man put together. And it's like, are y'all for real right now? So there's that. And you can give any commentary you have while I pull up our last video of the evening.
Yeah, that was wild. I haven't seen nothing like that. Like, guy just pouring the blood in the cup. And do you think that's like kind of like devilish behavior in a way?
I think that is definitely, demonic behavior, talking about drinking, like literally drinking blood. And it was never meant to be that. Okay, let me see. Is this what I'm waiting for? Okay, yeah, this is what I want. Okay, so our last clip of the evening is from a church. Yeah, Jacob, where you been at? Well, honestly, you didn't miss a whole lot because I had 2 snafus with my internet again. So thankfully, you're at the end where hopefully that won't happen again. But better late than never. But our last clip of the evening is from Mike Todd, who is a pastor that I had never heard until this whole death stuff. And so what happened, I believe that this was, I think 2021, maybe 2022, at his church for Easter Sunday, that is, okay? So, pastors, of course, pastors all over the country, they're trying to pull out all the stops for Easter for, the CNEs that come in, the Christmas and Easter crowd who, don't show up at church any other time. So they're trying to, kind of lure them in. And so Mike Todd is no exception. And so he puts on this complete spectacle at his church, use that term loosely, where it's perverted and it's lewd and it's worldly and it's just completely seeker sensitive. And it's totally not of God. And it looks occultish and it looks pagan. He says he had to get his kids to bed before any occult conversation. Hey, that's all good. No worries. The kiddies come first. But here's this little clip. It's almost 2 minutes long, but just feast your eyes on this, everybody.
Let's make the most of the night like we're gonna die. Let's make the most of the night like we're gonna die. Stop the track, let me stay back. So give me a minute and I'll be right back. Got the prince in my dungeon, they say that I couldn't get it. I done got so sick and filthy with envy. I can't free to tell me.
Jimmy out, I'm getting to the money. Everybody, man. I think I'm getting too much money. Everybody, man.
As we were saying, Dragon, this is what you need to do. Step 1, find you a baddie. Okay. But step 2, he gotta have a fatty. Hey. Yeah. Look back at it. Uh-oh. What is she doing? Friends, I don't have a fatty. Girl, we keep telling you it's okay. Your little booty matter too, friend. Y'all know they don't be discriminating. Okay, demons, now let's get information.
So yeah, that was church. Okay. That was the house of God. That was a congregation of, born again, blood washed, set apart believers. Jacob, aren't you familiar with church? That was church, what did we go to on Sundays to glorify and honor God and to, separate ourselves from the world? That was church. why are you're acting unfamiliar? Like you've never been to church before. What's going on, Jacob? Guys, I mean, because I hadn't seen all of those clips at first, but I had like seen bits and pieces of it. Like I saw that clip where they were talking to each other about the fatties. I mean, just everything in it was just so worldly and so ungodly. I mean, so it's not even just the fact that it was, you know, satanic, but it was just worldly. You know, first off, women in pants, and not only are they in pants, but they're in these skin tight leather pants that, you know, look painted on, and they're wearing all black, and they have those long dumb weaves in their hair, and you know they're talking about, oh, you got to get a fatty, like talking about, you know, your because trying to figure out how I want to word this, but basically, you know, just talking about, you know, your bodies in a sexual way up at church. And it's unbelievable, you know, the fire. And you know, I talked about non-denominational churches a few weeks ago, and I said, which I still stand by for the most part, that, you know, if I were ever in some town for some reason that didn't have like a kind of halfway decent Baptist church, but they had a non-denom church, I would go to the non-denom church as a substitute. Because a lot of non-denom churches, they are not like that. Okay. And you could make the argument that, you know, they're teaching, you know, free grace, that they're teaching, you know, that you can't lose your salvation, but, you know, they're just lacking discernment. You know, that argument could be made about some of these churches. But that, I mean, that what we just saw was completely inexcusable. It was worldly, it was sensual, it was devilish. Okay. There's a verse that uses those terms that I don't bring up because I can't think of it off.
Yeah, like to be honest, it looks like they was really worshiping the devil,
Yeah.
fire and all that nonsense.
Yeah, it looked satanic. Okay, here it is. Is my tab still up? No. But yeah, so it is James 3:1, which says that this wisdom descendeth not from above, but is earthly, sensual, devilish. Okay. And so you know, this is such a perfect verse for that, because you know, the wisdom that Mike Todd, that was the pastor of that church, you know, who, you know, ordained, or, you know, gave the green light for all that buffoonery. You know, him and his outreach team, you know, when they were cooking up this you know, bonanza for their Easter service, you know, they were using the wisdom of, this is what people like. You know, they're like parodying popular worldly songs, trying to, you know, they're like, oh, well, these songs are popular and this is what people like, and you know, this is interesting and eye-catching, and people are going to be talking about this, and you know, we're going to bring out the smoke machine and the fire machine, and we're going to have the strobing lights, and it's because, you know, people are just going to think that it's awesome. You know, people are going to think that it's a lot of fun, and they're using their marketing, you know, their, I guess, you know, that area of their mind, that wisdom, to try to lure these people in, to get people talking, going to their church. However, this wisdom descendeth not from above. It is earthly, sensual, devilish. Okay. And so the right way to try to get butts in seats at church is to go out soul winning, get people saved, and then encourage them to start going to church and start living a wholesome, clean life, not just try to, you know, pick up any, you know, trash off the street and just, you know, just for the sake of having a church full, you know, having it full of people who care nothing about God and want to listen to, you know, remixes of Beyonce and Rihanna music. I mean, just absolutely no standards, you know, no discernment, nothing like that. Were you about to say something?
No, I was just laughing.
I mean, it's ridiculous. And sometimes I forget that churches are even like that, you know, because I've just been so in my fundamentalist bubble, you know, for the past few years. But, you know, people, they honestly think, you know, like, oh, you know, this is totally fine. This is okay. And it's not. It's wickedness. And I thought that would be the perfect way to wrap up a stream talking about, the occult all around us. People go to church because they expect something different from their everyday life. They expect something different from the world. Like if you went on if you went to a spa, if you went to a sauna or a resort, you would expect a certain level of calmness and peace. You don't expect to hear like cars honking and people talking loudly on their cell phone and people rushing you from place to place, because that's just not the atmosphere that you went there for. Okay, you went there for a certain type of atmosphere, for a certain vibe, and that's what you went there for. And I believe that people go to church because they expect a certain atmosphere, they expect a certain vibe, and that is not the vibe that church is supposed to give off. That is not the kind of aura, the atmosphere that church is supposed to have. Was that indistinguishable from a club? Like, would you be surprised if you went to a club and saw some kind of presentation like that?
No.
No, that looked like a club. That looked like something that be hosted by a radio station. And so this is not church. And ironically enough, people who are really seeking the Lord and really, want to have a relationship with God and are looking for truth, they're not fazed by this. It looks corny, it looks cheap, it's cringy to them. And thank God, because they can be led to a real church that's, Baptist and fundamental and all the good stuff. But yeah, y'all. Jacob says, has anybody watched Righteous Gemstones? Reminds me of this church. No, I've never heard of that. I wonder, is that like a YouTube channel? Is that a TV show? I'm not familiar with that. He also says, they want to attract the people that don't think God is enough to worship. Oh, that's a really good point. These type of seeker-sensitive churches, they want to attract people that don't think that God is enough to worship. They want to attract people who aren't interested in God. Okay. Yeah, and it's ridiculous. So, yeah, friends. Oh, it's an HBO show. Okay. I don't have HBO. Do you have HBO? Me-Meechie, can you hear me?
Oh, I thought you was talking to Jacob.
Oh, no. Do you have HBO?
Nah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I don't know. I've never heard of that show. But apparently it talks about stuff like that. But yeah, and so that's the show for tonight, friends. That's about as all as I can take, and I'm pretty sure this is about as all that my internet can take. So, do you have any final thoughts about anything that we watched or anything come to mind for you?
Yeah, it was wild. What I seen, it was like that book I showed you, and what you were saying. It's kind of like what we saw.
Okay.
But I appreciate you for having me, Jenny. It's always a pleasure.
Oh yeah, of course. You are welcome anytime. And so you probably caught the best part of the show, honestly. So you came just in time to witness, the best part of the craziness. So, yeah. So thank you for coming up, Me-Meechie. And yeah, be sure that you come back after the stream and leave a link for your book for anybody who wants to check that out as well, so we can all support each other.
So stay on the comments or.
Yeah, you can drop it in the live chat, or you can
Okay.
once the stream ends, you can leave it in the regular comment section.
Okay.
Yeah. And so thank you very much for hopping on tonight, and I look forward to talking to you again.
It's always a pleasure, Jenny. You're the best.
Thank you. So, yes, friends, that was the show for tonight. Okay, so the occult is all around us.